question where you can see they give you the way how you suppose should answer. It means you must choose this one or this one. So in that case, your answer must be either one of it. Okay, but let's assume if it's an open-ended question, something like, okay, based on your own understanding, okay, which approach is better, which one you plan to use for this given scenario, then you can talk about both of them in this way, and maybe if in any situation you want to combine them, you can. So please read the question and try to get the idea what exactly the question try to cover. Okay. Okay, so let's move to the next part. So we have talked about unit level, module level, and then we do the integration, become a system. So here where we will start with the higher order testing. So higher order testing means after we have integrated, now we have the system. So we call it as a higher order testing, where we want to test them as a complete system. So let's go through this flow, okay, where it's actually start from the end user, and then the end user give the requirement, and then from the requirement we have the projects or the software's objective, and then the external specification. From the specification we have the system design, and from the design we have the structure design, internal program structure design, and then the interfaces specification, and then the code. So if you see, each of these artifacts which we are producing will be used for different level of testing. So for example, we have module testing, and then we have integration testing from the system design, the program structure design. Then we have the functional testing from the requirement or the specification. Then the system testing will be indicating if we have achieved the objective or not. And then the acceptance testing is to confirm all the requirement has been fulfilled or not. And also we have the installation test. So this is actually moving towards to the client side. Okay, so we are going to see some examples of higher order testing. So it means as an integrated system, what are the type of testing which we will be discussing, which will be needed to be conducted. So the most famous one is the functional testing. So this is more to black box testing, no more white box testing. So when we have integrated as a system, we have the user interface. It's come out from the development department to the testing department, so it will be moved towards to the black box technique. So here when we said functional testing, all what we want to try to see is if the system is actually function according to the specification or to the external specification given by the client, how the system actually behaves, the behavior of the system from the end user point. So we want to see if there is any issues, there is any gap happen in the functionality according to the specification. So we do the functional testing. Okay, then we have the system testing, where the system testing is nothing about the external specification but the system's objective. Okay, so it means we want to see if the system fulfill the objective or not. So we are trying to compare the whole system to its objective, to the original objective, what the system supposed should do. Okay, so we will be having the objective, and then we try to test them according to that objective. Okay, so this will be different types of system testing. So I have total of 15 categories, and we will see back some of it in our chapter 3 later also. Yeah, chapter 3 later. Okay, so here we will go through one by one. So this is actually like a table format. in a simple format. So each of these slide actually talking about them again and again. So if you prefer to have a short version of the description, so you can use this table format. Okay, so we will start from the facility testing. Okay, so facility testing, it's something like redundant with this functional testing too. Okay, so we want to see if each of the functions, okay, able to work accordingly or not. Maybe some companies they use different term. Okay, so facility testing or function testing actually is kind of similar. So we have a checklist to see if each of the function is been doing what it's supposed should do or not. Okay. So volume testing. So I believe you have heard that before. So when we are dealing with volume of data, okay, so we need to conduct this volume test to check if the system able to handle heavy volume of data or not. So when the data keep on growing bigger and bigger, the more the system is in the usage, okay, so the more data it's going to be stored. So the volume of data will be keep on growing bigger. So this can actually disturb the system's performance and also the objective of the system. So in that case, we will conduct this volume testing to test how is the capability of the system to handle high volume of data. So volume means it's all about data only. Okay. So the next one is the stress testing. Okay. So stress testing here is we want to see how the system able to handle the stress given to the system. Okay, so it can be heavy workload. Okay, so it means when there is many transactions happen frequently. Okay, or maybe at a particular time. Okay, like a peak time, so there is something like suddenly come up, so there is a heavy load going on. So can the system handle that stress? Okay, so volume of data also can be a stress for a system. Okay, so when we generally say it as a stress testing, volume of data can be part of the sets. Okay, but when it comes to volume testing, it's only about the data, nothing else is part of it. Okay, so other than that, any unusual activities or maybe huge number of devices accessing, like huge number of user, I think like when you guys trying to register for co-curriculum, suddenly student intranet like gone, cannot use. When you will start to do the registration for your elective courses, so we used to have this problem of, so this means that the system did not able to handle certain stress. Okay, so we need to confirm that if the system able to handle this or not. So this can be different types of stress. Okay, so this is just an example between the volume and the stress testing if you confuse. So volume testing means could the typist cope of a draft of large report, sorry, of a large report. Okay, so here we talk about the amount, large amount of report. Okay, but when it comes to stress testing, could the typist type at a rate of 50 words per minute? So now we actually have a stress given here. So there is a rate of stress given to the typist. So in a minute, can they type this amount of word or not? So it means we are stressing them within that short period of time, this big of thing must be done. Okay, so that will be the difference between the volume test, and the stress test. Okay, then we have usability test. I believe everyone know about the usability of the system, how important it is. So the system user interface is very important when we talk about working in a real environment later, because the end user must be comfortable, okay, to use the user interface. They must understand how is the flow of the user interface, so it must be usable enough for them able to use the system within a short period of time. Okay, then we have security testing, where it is all about the security objective. So we want to see how maybe like any unexpected access or any attacks or any penetration can be happen to steal data. So we have to concern about the security. So there will be security testing conducted to search where will be there is, if there is any security holes. Okay, then we have performance testing. So this is very important. As a higher order testing, we need to confirm how the system able to perform. Sometimes the functionality all is perfectly working, but the performance is not. So your client will be still not satisfied with that. So we need to focus on the performance or the efficiency of the system. So how long is the response time whenever there is any request being given to the system? How fast the system can respond? So how within this time of period or not? Okay, so if there is high workload given, how is the response time? Is it affecting the response time? So we need to know the performance. Okay, then we have storage testing. So storage testing is more on storage of a system, where the amount of the system have the storage to handle the daily transaction, the memory of the program. Because when the data is keep on growing, when the transaction is keep on growing, when the users access is keep on growing, it can be affecting the storage. So how well we are managing the storage, like temporary files, log files, and then how the files being arranged. So all this can be affecting the performance later. So storage is a very important thing which we need to test. We need to ensure that the system has a proper amount of memory or storage for it to run without any issue. Okay, especially without any delay happen. Okay, then we have configuration testing. So configuration normally like involvement of hardware, software, or any special tools, devices. So a proper configuration must be tested. So can the system work together with this multiple softwares, with this multiple operating system, with this hardware from different brands, different specification. So we need to do the configuration test to confirm that. So especially like if you are coming up with a web application, okay, we have multiple web browsers in the market. You cannot limit your web application to be functioning only in one web browser, because you cannot force what your user will be using. So you have to make sure that you are developing something which can be working equally in different platform, different web browsers, different operating system. So you need to make sure the configuration first. Okay, then we have compatibility testing or conversion testing. So compatibility is another one which is very important. This can be based on softwares, also based on operating system, also if it's compatible to function or not. So we want to see how is the compatibility when there is any changes happen, when there is something new has been installed, or if we are using a new version of database, the upgrading of database. So how is the compatibility happen? Okay, then installation testing. So installation testing based on procedures, based on user manuals. Okay, you must test if the installation part has been correctly documented, can be done correctly or not. Okay, so because let's assume you are the one developing, so let's assume when it come to client side, when you are doing the installation, you know what to do. Okay, but when it come to passing it to your client side for any purpose, their IT department, they need to know. So you have to make sure that the installation of the system is also need to be tested to make sure that the process, the procedures of the installation has been prepared accordingly. So this can be involved the documentation of user manual or system manual, and also the step by step how the installation should be done. Okay, then we have reliability testing. So reliability testing is all about how well the system can be functioning, how will be the downtime of the system whenever there is any issues, for example any software issue, any hardware or network issue, how long is the downtime of the system. So that can actually indicate the reliability of the system, how fast it can be up again. So we need to conduct the reliability testing to confirm the reliability level of the system. Okay, then reliability is also somehow related with the recovery. So recovery testing here means we want to test to confirm if the system able to recover by itself or not. Because if you see, sometimes when you walk into mall, right, there is screens inside the mall, and the screen is showing like a error page, error message, and like nothing happened until someone realize it and they do fixing. So it means the system did not have the recoverability. Okay, so here we are focusing on the recovery level of the system. So whenever there is any errors, any failures, any issues, can the system able to recover by itself or not? If the system will be remain down until someone need to go and fix it. So when the system has a low recovery level, it will be affecting the reliability of the system, because the more longer time it takes for recovering, automatically the downtime of the system will be more, because it cannot up immediately. Okay, so we have to do the recovery testing to test if the functionality is able to recover and proceed to work or not. Okay, then the next one is the serviceability or the maintenance testing. So this one we are trying to see how is the system service during the operation, how will be the maintenance characteristic towards the system later in the future. So after our clients started to use, so how well the system is going on at their operation environment. So what are the type of service, what are the maintenance we need to provide to them. Okay, then we have documentation testing. So this is more to the documentation to check every documentation is accurately has been prepared, and it must be upgrading every time when there is changes or upgrading happen on the system. So documentation and the system must be tally. Okay, then procedure testing. So normally procedure is more to certain people who has certain roles. Okay, for example, the system administrator, database administrator, the person who is actually taking care of the system. So they will always have these procedures to follow. So this can be human procedures or it can be documentation procedures. So we have to make sure that this procedures has been prepared and it has been tested, so that these people who is taking care of the database, taking care of the system, able to have the document in case if there is any issues happen. So they should know how to do certain procedures. So this must be tested. So this can be the system, the people, and also the documentation involvement. Okay. Then the next one is acceptance testing. So acceptance testing is part of the higher order testing, but acceptance testing is not only testers, it has nothing to do with the testers, but it is more to the end user. Okay, so for acceptance testing, we have two level of acceptance testing. One is alpha and one is beta. Okay, so towards the completion of the development, okay, so maybe we have done like 97%, 98%, everything is going to be finalized soon. So we will be inviting the end user at the developer site with the supervision of the developers for them to test the system. Okay, so normally at the alpha stage, the actual end user can be invited, or sometimes internal people can also pretend like end user. So let's assume, okay, our company is too small, we cannot bring in people. Okay, what we will do is, other than the developers who was part of the development, other people who is not doing the coding, who is not involving with anything, who don't know anything about the system, we can invite them to pretend like the end user. Okay, and then for them to test, to do this acceptance testing at the alpha level. The reason why we are conducting this alpha test is for the developers to gather the feedback from the user, how they feel about the system, how is everything okay or not. So they still get the feedback from there, and from the feedback they will be doing changes. So it means changes still allowed to do here. So maybe they are not happy, like, oh, why the color is so bad like this? Huh? This one supposed should be something else, you know. So when they give the feedback, right? So they will be actually able to gather, and the developers will do the fixing. So that's why this is actually towards the completion of the software, still at the developer side. Okay, so developers gather the feedbacks and they will do the enhancement from there. So once we done at the alpha test, then we go to beta test. So at this beta test, it is like something we have enhanced from this level. So we believe everything is okay, no issue much. Okay, so this will be also called as a field testing. Okay, we will discuss about this in chapter 3 also later. Okay, beta testing also called as a field testing, because the system will be installed at the client side, at their actual working environment ready. So now there is no supervision of developers, no feedback gathering, all this no more. So it means we are already finalizing at the client side. So we install at their environment. Okay, so they will be testing. The actual end user, the actual customer will be testing the system at their side. So this will be beta level. Can we still get complaint at the beta level? Can we still get feedback from the client at the beta level? Like just now, we gather at the alpha level, am I right? And the developers do the changes according to that. So now at the beta level, when we already install at the client side, something like, okay, everything is good. Can we still get their feedback? Like something is still not okay. Can they still say it out? Do you think it will be 100% perfect, no issue at all? And if we get this feedback at the beta level, what we will do? What we will do? why we call it beta? You always seen, right? Like system, they actually publish the system, they actually already passed the system, but still they put like beta version. What does that mean? Is it 100% completed, 100% convinced system? So it's something like the system is there, is working, everything is done, okay, but it is still as beta version because they can still do the changes, they can still accept the feedback, and they will still keep on updating it, but while the user is actually using the system. So this is more to maintenance side, while the user using it, and if it's, there is any fixing needed, any changes needed, so they will still do. So that's why they will still call as a beta version. Okay, so here we try our level best before we move here. You get? So here we have the supervision done during the testing. But here we consider that everything is okay. We already get the feedback earlier. So you can start to use the system. So while you are using, if there is anything, then it will carry as the maintenance period. It means they will continue to do that. Okay, until everything is okay, then they will say it is no more beta version. Okay, so even once you have installed at your client side, you cannot just say, okay, I'm done, we are done, we have completed the project. No, software it's something like continuous things need to be done. So even after you're done with the development, they started to use, you will still need to provide them some service. So that is where the maintenance all will be happening. Okay, then actually it is kind of repeating with the installation testing. So this is not to find any software errors or any software defects, but this is actually to find during the installation process. So we are not trying to find any errors made or any defect inside the software, but it will be more during the installation. So that's why we need to test if the installation can be carried accordingly or not. So when it comes to at the client side, the installation must be done accordingly with their environment, with their database, with their hardware. So it is very important for us to confirm the installation. Okay. Then user interface testing is something related with the usability just now. So this is more to the human computer interaction, how the system is being developed, how easy to use, how it's actually helping in their daily task. Okay, so normally we can get a survey to be done, how is the user interface and how is the usability level of the user. Okay, then we have regression testing. So regression testing, in a short form, if I want to make it very clear for you, every time when there is changes happen in your source code, in your functionalities, in your any features, every time when there is changes happen on the software, we must conduct regression testing. Okay, immediately after every time changes happen, because when we set changes on the features, changes on the requirement, actually it will be changes on the code. So every time when there is changes on the code happen, even during the defect debugging, there will be changes happen, we need to conduct regression testing. So regression testing, something can be in any level, at the unit level, at the module level, integration level, but here we are referring to the system level. So every time when there is changes happen on the system code, the source code, okay, we need to conduct regression. So the reason of why we conduct this regression test is we want to monitor how is the side effect of the change. If the change bring a new defect or not. If the changes happen affect